biggest reason retirees run out of money isn't a bad market. It's one dangerous myth. After guiding hundreds through retirement, I've seen how this one investing lie can push people to invest the wrong way and put their entire retirement at risk. So in this video, I'll show you the lie and the simple investing plan that can help protect your plan no matter what the market does next. Let me show you the biggest lie retirees believe and why it makes so many people run out of money when they never should. Investing for retirement is like cooking. You don't choose ingredients first, you choose the recipe. Before you pick investments, you need to know what you want your money to do. Most retirees skip that step and end up with a portfolio based on age instead of an actual plan. And that leads us to the myth almost every retiree follows. You should be more conservative with your investments the older you get. Sounds responsible, right? But that strategy rarely comes from any real analysis. It's a mix of old school advice people were told to follow and the way their target date fund was set up at work. But investing that way in retirement can be the reason you run out of money. This visual shows the traditional advice retirees have been told to follow. You start with more of your portfolio in stocks and it drops as you age. By the start of retirement, you're around 60% stocks, and by the end, you're closer to 30%. The idea is simple. The older you are, the less risk you should take. But the question is, does it actually work? Retirement researcher Michael Kitces ran a study to help answer this exact question, and the results aren't what you'd expect. This chart shows how likely you are to make it through retirement without running out of money. The left side is how you invest at the start, the top is how you're invested at the end. Right here is the traditional approach, 60% stocks at the start, 30% at the end. Compared to everything, it does okay. But look where the darkest green is, the best results on the entire chart. It's not the traditional path, it's this one, starting retirement with about 30% in stocks and ending with around 70%. In other words, the study shows that what works best is the opposite of what most retirees have been told to do. But that's in an average market. The whole reason people get more conservative with age is to help protect themselves from a bad market, especially early in retirement. So let's test that. Here's the same chart, but instead of average returns, it uses some of the worst we've seen. And even if you retired right into one of those markets, the green still shows up in the same spots, which means the moment this strategy is supposed to save you is the moment it can let you down. And that's because the real danger in retirement has nothing to do with being 55 or 65 or 75. It has to do with when your portfolio is the most fragile, when one bad year can undo decades of saving. Let me show you where that happens. This chart shows how your retirement savings grow over time and where that growth actually comes from. The blue is what you save yourself. The red is the growth of your investments. When you're young, almost everything in your account comes from your own savings. But as the years pass, the red takes over. Your growth, not your contributions, becomes the main thing that moves your balance. Near retirement, you could lose in a few months what would take you years to save back. So how do you help protect yourself from a loss at the wrong time? This chart shows the value of your portfolio over time. That's the blue line. The red area in the middle is what we call the retirement danger zone, the short stretch near retirement where a downturn can hit the hardest. One of the simplest ways to help protect yourself through this window is something called a bond tent. Here's how it works. The orange line shows how much of your portfolio is in bonds or safer assets. As you get closer to retirement, that line rises, meaning you're slowly getting more conservative. Right in the middle of the danger zone, the bond allocation peaks. That's your tent, giving your portfolio shelter when the risk is highest. Once you move past that danger zone, you gradually lower the bond allocation again. The tent comes down. This is why the bond tent works. It gives you the best defense during the highest risk years, not just when you're the oldest. But here's the part most people miss. Even though the tent can defend you during the riskiest years, that defense comes with a cost. This chart from Fidelity shows how your retirement expenses can grow over time. If you're spending $100,000 today, that same lifestyle could cost over $200,000 in the future at normal historical inflation. And if inflation runs even a little hotter, your annual spending could be closer to $260,000. And that's the problem. If your expenses keep climbing, but your portfolio stays too safe for too long, your money simply can't keep up. Not because you did anything wrong, but because your portfolio didn't grow enough to match the rising cost of life. And here's where I see so many retirees go wrong. Because knowing when to defend what you have now and when to be more aggressive for later actually has nothing to do with your age. Let me show you why using two retirees. Dino has a strong pension that starts the moment he retires. So in the early years, he doesn't need much from his portfolio. His pension handles most of his lifestyle from day one. But when we put that pension on the same inflation chart from earlier, the picture changes. The blue line, expenses, rises over time. The red line, Dino's pension, stays completely flat. And as the years go on, that gap between what he needs and what he has coming in gets bigger and bigger. So for Dino, the real risk isn't early in retirement, it's later. Now, here's Knox. He retires at the exact same age as Dino, but he has no guaranteed income early on. But later, when he turns on Social Security, he gets income that rises with inflation. And when we add that to the chart, we see the opposite story. A big gap early on and a much smaller one later. So even though they're the same age, in the same year, facing the same markets, they need to defend themselves at completely different times. And here's what can make this even trickier. In real life, it's not just early versus late. You'll have cars to replace, home projects, maybe even a wedding, all of which can shift what you need and when you need it. But here's the surprising part. Even with everyone having different income and different expenses, there's one simple investing strategy that fits them all. It's what we call the 3-bucket strategy. Bucket 1 is the money you'll need in the next couple years, your safe bucket. Bucket 2 covers the middle years, a blend of safety and growth. Bucket 3 covers the later years, the bucket that keeps up with rising costs. Here's how this applies to our example with Dino and Knox. For Dino, the biggest gap shows up later in retirement, so more of his money needs to sit in that long-term bucket. For Knox, the biggest gap shows up early, so more of his money has to sit in the short-term bucket. And over time, each of them slowly shifts how much they keep in each bucket, not based on their age, but based on how much they need and when they'll need it. And that's why this system can work no matter what the market does next, because it can defend you when you're most vulnerable and grow your money for the years when life gets more expensive. So now you know the truth behind that old investing myth, and the simple strategy that can help protect your plan no matter what the market does. But no matter how strong your investment plan is, there's still one thing that can ruin more retirements than any market drop: the fear of spending your money. If you hesitate every time you book a trip or try to enjoy the retirement you've earned, watch this video next. It'll show you the data that finally helps retirees stop worrying about spending and actually enjoy the retirement they worked decades to build.